Uh, Kumar runs an incubator by the name Enterprise Labs, and before that, he sold a company called Virident to Western Digital for $700 million. And before that, he sold another company to Intel, which again had a spectacular exit. And he has a PhD in computer science from Illinois Urbana. As some of you might remember, that's where Mark Andreessen did his research, so it's a very venerated school. And even before that, his achievement at IIT Madras was a gold medalist. So in reality, if I were to say, his career has sort of gone down. Kumar, we've got about 15 minutes where I'll do a bunch of questions. It'll be sort of random spot fire. And the goal of that is really to give you a serving suggestion for you to ask questions. So think about this as sort of a buffet menu, where you get a broad cross-section of Kumar as a person, as a professional, as a leader, as an entrepreneur. And after that, you can tailor-make your questions, and also that'll help you structure your mentor-mentee session when you meet with them later today. So, Kumar, let me start in the chronological order. High school, what were the formative moments in your high school? Could your high school teacher have thought about Kumar as an entrepreneur in Silicon Valley, or even gone to IIT? Let's start with that.
We can start in high school. We'll have to share the mic, I guess. All right. Hello, everyone. Well, I'm trying to remember high school first. It's a long time back. But there's been a couple of moments, in general, I mean, this is a continuing theme you'll see. I've had a few moments in high school where, there's a big failure moment. Oh shit, So I remember this clearly because my mom smacked me for it. In the 8th grade, I was switching over schools to DAV High School. I don't know if you guys know Gopalapuram, the DAV. And there, I didn't know, I took a test, entrance test, and they had a Hindi paper. And I come from Tamil medium, or I studied Tamil, never knew Hindi, and proud to not know Hindi until that point. And I literally folded the paper in and gave it. So I got very good scores in everything else, but then the principal really took me to task on it, and they admitted me, and then I went through 3 years of Rashtra Bhasha and a bunch of other side training, and finally managed to graduate Hindi to a level that I could speak for a while, but 30 years later, I can't remember anything still. So that was formative. Again, that's when you get Rajan talked about humility, right? So in general, that hits you like, oh shit, this is bad. And that's the turning points, and I'll keep pointing out that sort of inspired me along the way.
So Kumar, IIT obviously, IIT gold medal is just hard to even anywhere. It's a rarefied atmosphere out there. After that, you got your PhD from Urbana, which is again a rare distinction. So what is the turning point? I mean, typically after PhD in Urbana, you go publish papers, which maybe 8 people and soon 3 people in the whole world can understand. From there, how did you go to becoming a peddler?
Well, I had a difficult time in the PhD, believe it or not. I joined Urbana-Champaign after University of Massachusetts, 2 years master's, and then I picked an advisor. He's still around, but he's a little tough. Let me put it to you this way. 60% of the students leave after 2 years. Okay. And I already spent 3 years there, and I just didn't want to quit. That's sort of dug in. That's when I understood it's more than sort of the strategy part of it came to me there. So I recruited a group of other professors on my committee to go engineer my exit out of my PhD, literally. It took me 2 more years, but then in '93 I graduated after 5 years, and that sort of taught me some interesting lessons that, how do you go beyond just one dimensional? How do you go beyond, how do you work on people more than just products or technology? So that.
Cool, Kumar. So your first startup, take us through how did you get involved? What was the kind of eureka moment? And how did you get involved? How did it come about? where did you start? What kind of pivots, and what did you exit with?
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of prospective entrepreneurs are sitting here and thinking about, how did you come up on that, and how did you start is the key moment here. I'll give you a simple thesis. I joined Rockwell Semiconductor after my PhD, amongst other choices. Again, my drive there to be sort of a big fish in a small pond, as opposed to join IBM or AT&T in those days, which was more glamorous. I worked on a modem chip technology. I was a chip designer. For the first 5 years, I designed something called 56 kilobit modems. For some of the young guys, you may not remember all these things, but this is the fastest speed of the modem technology for dial-up modems in those days. And I quickly learned the art of the trade. I designed GSM chipsets, and so I became a principal engineer and one of the youngest fellows at Rockwell within 4 years. But during that period, there are two things happen. Okay, I'll give you some formative side, but more on the opportunity side. On the personal side, my dad passed away in '96, and after 30 years of diabetes, I was talking to somebody here. He was a doctor, never took care of himself, but he was committed to doing service to others. So once he passed away, that sort of drove adversity in me to say, I got to do something on my own. I'm an accidental entrepreneur is what I would tell you. It was never planned. Okay? But I quickly put many things together. The opportunity statement was this. 1996, there was a Telecom Deregulation Act. It was a seminal period of time that created the telecom bubble. Okay? Within 2 years of that act, about a few thousand select companies were created around the world. Anybody could go get bandwidth at fair rates from AT&T or the baby bells, and you could create a telecom carrier and go compete in the market openly. So what the opportunity I saw was an ability for these carriers to build a gateway or a switching gateway for them. All of them bought packet bandwidth from the big bells, but the money was in voice. So what we built was, what I started with building a product that will carry voice traffic on packet networks, a voice over IP technology. So again, coming from the DSP chip side, my PhD was also in DSP, so sort of I quickly came up with an approach, and then those are magical moments. Within 6 months we got it funded, and there was many key people who helped me in getting it funded, and the journey was amazing. Within 2.5 years we were acquired. Okay, there were no pivots as far as I could remember in those days. But then I paid for all of that in my second one that I'll describe, and more. But it just happened to work together. We were focused. We were funded by, I was the founding CTO and CEO, and we were funded by Sequoia and a firm called Telesoft Partners. This guy called Arjun Gupta. I still remember convincing him 4 weekends in a row, sitting in his flat in San Francisco to take a chance on me. So that was critical. But net, we executed, we were winning deals. I would walk into a customer after one meeting, I'll get a $2 million order. So I'm still waiting for those days. They never seem to come back. But overall, right place, right time, a lot of luck, But I also tell entrepreneurs, it's not enough to just stay on the sidelines. Only if you play the game, you have an opportunity to score. We can be armchair quarterbacks for all we want, but you have to be in the game.
Very cool, Kumar. Both what Rajan said and Kumar said reminds me of my first company, Integrated Automation, was funded by Warburg Pincus. And the lead board member was Bill Janeway. Take his name down. He's written one of the best books on venture investing. Bill, Janeway. You can buy it from Amazon. It's a great, lovely read. And in one of the first board meetings, he said, who do you think is a great entrepreneur? We were all saying Steve Jobs, somebody else. And he said, Christopher Columbus. He didn't know where he was going. He didn't know how to get there, obviously. When he got there, he didn't know where he was. And he did everything on other people's money. So again, that's a common thread. And so next, we'll skip your time at Intel in the interest of time. The Virident is something which, that's when Kumar and I met. And at that time, both of us were doing a startup. Startups are very stressful. And one of the things which we really enjoyed doing was we signed up for India Literacy Project Run. It's a 198-mile run from Napa Valley to Santa Cruz. 11 runners, 18 miles each. We do 6 miles, pass the baton to the other runner, and then we do it 18 miles over a day and a half. It's a spectacular stress-relieving activity, I can tell you. So that's something which as startups, you'll find that you need something like that. So Virident, there's a very interesting startup because at the time he told me about his concept, which is 180-degree apart from what it ended up at. It's almost like I want to sell fried tofu to I want to build iPhones. It's about as different. So Kumar, take us through that.
Yeah. So I spent a few years at Intel, came out. I actually did another failed startup in between. Nobody knows about it. But I went left field and did a bio startup, sort of a simulation for drug testing, and quickly learned I was way out of my depth there. So that again teaches you to go back to what you're good, at least know a little bit more on. Okay. So Virident, quickly. What we focused on Virident was high-level enterprise flash storage. Okay, and the thesis statement was very simple. When we started the company, it was about 4 months after iPhone 1, if you guys remember that far back. First smartphone, Android was just in the works. They put in something called flash memory into those phones to make them small, light, and portable. That was the concept, so we felt that that was a turning point in the industry where flash as a memory storage has been around for a while, but the cost dynamics would dramatically change. It's a golden moment in time in 2006. So not just us, there were about 183 other people in the world who saw the same thing. So there were about 200 other flash startups. We just happened to be initially picking on the trend, what I did was I made the mistake, I picked the wrong type of flash. Okay? So there are 2 types of flash in every cell phone, something to store your code and something to store your data, called NOR and NAND. I picked the NOR flash, which was much more mature, and we had a deal with a company called Spansion, the #1 maker of NOR flash in the world. And we built the whole product line around them. They modified it to our needs. I was flying high because I had raised $40 million Series A. I thought I could do no wrong, so it catches up to you, every so often you have to come down to earth. So 2009, the meltdown period, Spansion goes bankrupt completely. Okay, so, here we are. I have my product sitting in a couple of companies like Facebook and LinkedIn, and there's nothing I could do. So I basically had to lay off about 2/3 of the team. My investor was Ardiman Ventures and Spansion, which was bankrupt. And Ardiman told me to give up also. So forget it, you tried, good luck, let's move on. But I just, for various reasons, I'll probably get into it if somebody wants to know more, but I try to decouple my ego from the facts a lot of the time in decision making, and I felt that there was something core here that we are still not scratched. So I actually doubled down, put my own money in with a couple of other angels, and then raised money from Sequoia and Intel following a recap. And we went from a $20 million valuation to $700 million in 3 years. Brilliant. Right, so highest multiple in the flash industry. So that's sort of the Virident journey.
One thing you can speak about, Kumar, along the way, I'm sure you hired a bunch of people. Some people you're glad you did, some people you did not. Every entrepreneur here, this is not a solo sport, you need a team. So what are some of the pointers in finding the right team members, do's and don'ts?
Yeah, I'm still learning that one, I would tell you honestly. I am a sucker for passion. I fall quickly for people, I trust them. That's the only way I have succeeded, so I try to reflect the same. So typically I look for sort of this order, integrity, passion, and skill. Integrity is #1. I've learned very quickly, I don't have time to second guess, I can't protect my back, so you need a team that you can implicitly trust, independent of the outcome. So I try to look for it. It's a harder skill to hire. You need to actually spend time with the person. Typically 6 months, 12 months. During the tough periods is when you know what the person is made of, not when things are going well. Anybody can do it when things are going well. So that's one. These days we try to do something different in my incubator. We try to sort of work together for at least 4 to 6 months or a dating period before we go down a particular project with any entrepreneur. So that's what I would tell you. I still don't have good answers, but that's going to define, hide your weakness, as Rajan mentioned. That's the number one rule. And try to correct from your mistakes quickly. An empty seat is better than the wrong seat. Is what I've learned hard in my life.
Kumar, so we are a little bit crunched for time. So rather than swapping mics, 3 questions. Words of wisdom for entrepreneurs. Words of wisdom